The signal came at the worst possible time. It arrived when the galaxy was busy with its own problems, when great empires fought over resources, and when small species like the Velrani had no one to help them. Elder Novan stood at the window of his tower and watched his people die. The streets of Velra Prime, once filled with music and laughter, now held only silence. The plague had come 3 weeks ago. It started with a single ship returning from a trading mission. Now, half the colony showed symptoms. Blue spots appeared on the skin first. Then came the fever. Then came death. The Velrani were a gentle species. They stood only 4 feet tall, with soft gray skin and large eyes that reflected light like pools of water. They had no army. They had no weapons. They had survived for 10,000 years by being kind to everyone and threatening no one. Now their kindness could not save them. Novan turned away from the window and walked to the communication room. His old legs hurt with every step. He was nearly 200 years old, ancient even by Velrani standards. He had seen much in his long life. He had watched his species join the Galactic Union. He had celebrated when they established their first colony. He had believed the galaxy would protect them. He had been wrong. The communication officer, a young female named Lyra, looked up when he entered. Her eyes were red from crying. She had lost her brother to the plague yesterday. "Have we received any response?" Novan asked. Lyra shook her head. "Nothing from the Galactic Union headquarters. Nothing from the Dominion worlds. Nothing from the Trade Confederation." She paused. "They are all too busy with the border conflict. Our message is not important to them." Novan closed his eyes. Of course. The great powers of the galaxy were fighting over a mineral-rich system near the galactic core. Millions of soldiers were involved. Billions of credits were being spent. What did they care about a small colony of peaceful aliens who were dying from a plague? "Send the message again," Novan said. "Send it to everyone. Send it in every direction. Maybe someone will hear us. Maybe someone will care." Lyra nodded and began working at her console. Her fingers moved across the controls as she prepared the emergency broadcast. The message was simple. The Velrani needed medical supplies. They needed doctors. They needed help. Without it, they would all die within 2 months. The signal went out in all directions, traveling at faster than light speeds across the void of space. Most of it went toward the busy center of the galaxy, where the great powers ignored it. But some of it went in a different direction. Some of it went toward a small yellow star on the edge of the galactic arm. Some of it went toward a planet called Earth. Admiral Yuna was having a bad day. She sat in her office at the Earth Defense Command and stared at reports that made no sense. The United Earth Council wanted her to do more with less. They wanted more patrols with fewer ships. They wanted more protection with smaller budgets. They wanted miracles. Yuna was 53 years old, with short black hair that was starting to show gray. She had served in the Earth Defense Fleet for 30 years, starting as a young officer on a patrol ship and working her way up to admiral. She had fought pirates, negotiated with alien traders, and kept Earth safe during the difficult early years of humanity's expansion into space. Earth had only been a spacefaring species for 200 years. In galactic terms, humans were babies. The great empires had existed for millions of years. They had technology that humans could barely understand. They had populations that numbered in the trillions, and they looked at humanity the way adults look at small children playing with dangerous toys. The door to her office opened and her aide, Lieutenant Hana, rushed in. Hana was young and eager, with a tendency to get excited about everything. "Admiral, you need to hear this," Hana said. She placed a datapad on Yuna's desk. "We intercepted this signal 20 minutes ago. It was sent on an open frequency, meant for anyone who could hear it." Yuna picked up the pad and read the message. Her expression changed from tired annoyance to something else. Something softer. "The Velrani," she said quietly. "I have heard of them. A peaceful species. They joined the Galactic Union about 50 years ago. Yes, Admiral, they are asking for medical help. A plague is killing their colony." Hana paused. The message was not meant for us. They sent it to the Galactic Union and the other major powers. We just happened to pick it up because of our position. Yuna read the message again. The words were desperate. The Velrani were dying. They needed help. They had no one else to turn to. Have any of the major powers responded? Yuna asked. Hana shook her head. No, Admiral. From what we can tell, everyone is ignoring them. The border conflict is taking all their attention. Yuna stood up and walked to her window. Outside, she could see the ships of the Earth Defense Fleet floating in orbit around Earth. They were not pretty ships. They were warships, built for combat, covered in armor and weapons. Humanity had learned early that the galaxy was not a kind place. They had built ships that could fight because they had to. But Yuna knew that ships could do more than fight. Ships could carry things. Ships could bring help to those who needed it. Call Commander Taemin, she said. Tell him to meet me in the conference room. And contact the United Earth Council. Tell them, we have an urgent matter to discuss. Hana looked surprised. Admiral, you are not thinking of responding to this message, are you? The Velrani are not our allies. They have never even contacted Earth before. And we do not have medical ships. We only have warships. Yuna turned to face her aide. Her eyes were hard with determination. Then we will send warships, she said. We will fill them with medicine and doctors instead of missiles and soldiers. Someone needs help, Lieutenant. Everyone else is ignoring them. Earth will not. Hana wanted to argue. She wanted to point out all the problems with this idea. The Velrani did not know humans. They might be scared of the warships. The Galactic Union might be angry that Earth was interfering. The Council might refuse to approve such a mission. But she saw the look in the Admiral's eyes and kept her objections to herself. Yes, Admiral, Hana said. I will make the calls. As Hana left the office, Yuna looked back at the data pad with the Velrani message. She thought about what it must be like to call for help and have no one answer. She thought about being alone in the darkness, watching your people die, knowing that no one was coming to save you. Not this time, Yuna thought. This time, someone will answer. She did not know it yet, but her decision would change the galaxy forever. The United Earth Council met in the Great Chamber beneath the mountains of Switzerland. 12 representatives from the major nations of Earth sat around a curved table, their faces lit by the soft glow of holographic displays. They had been called from their beds in the middle of the night for this emergency meeting, and most of them were not happy about it. Admiral Yuna stood at the center of the room. Commander Taemin stood beside her, a tall man with a serious face and calm eyes. He was the best tactical officer in the fleet, known for his ability to stay cool under pressure. Let me understand this correctly, said Counselor Park, an older man with thin gray hair. You want us to send our warships across the galaxy to help aliens we have never met? Aliens who did not even ask us for help? Yes, Counselor, Yuna said. That is exactly what I am asking. Counselor Park leaned back in his chair. Admiral, I respect your service to Earth. But this is madness. We have limited resources. We have limited ships. The Velrani are strangers to us. Why should we help them? Yuna took a deep breath. She had known this would be difficult. Because they need help, she said simply. Because no one else is helping them. Because if we do nothing, thousands of innocent beings will die. Another counselor, a woman named G1, spoke up. Admiral, I understand your feelings, but we must think about Earth first. If we send our ships away, we leave ourselves unprotected. What if someone attacks us while our fleet is gone? Our outer defenses will remain in place, Taemin said, speaking for the first time. We would only send a small task force, 5 ships at most. Earth will not be unprotected. 5 ships, Ji-won repeated. 5 warships, carrying medicine and doctors into unknown territory. Do you have any idea how the Velrani will react when they see human warships arriving at their colony? Yuna nodded. I have considered that. We will announce our intentions clearly. We will tell them we come in peace. We will explain that we only bring help. And if they do not believe you? Park asked. These aliens do not know humans. They have never met us. All they will see is a fleet of warships entering their system. They might think we are invaders. It is a risk, Yuna admitted. But it is a risk worth taking. The alternative is to do nothing and let them die. The council members whispered among themselves. Yuna waited, her hands clasped behind her back. She knew that this decision would not be easy for them. Earth had always kept to itself. Humans had not made many friends in the galaxy. They were too new, too unknown, too strange. But Yuna believed that Earth could be more than just another selfish power in the galaxy. She believed that humans could show the galaxy what true compassion looked like. Finally, Counselor Park spoke again. Admiral, even if we wanted to help, we do not have medical ships. We only have warships. How can we carry enough medicine and doctors to save an entire colony? Yuna smiled. She had been waiting for this question. Commander Taemin has been working on a solution, she said. Commander, please explain. Taemin stepped forward and activated a holographic display. A three-dimensional image of a warship appeared in the center of the room. It was a heavy cruiser, bristling with weapons and armor. This is the EDS Horizon, Taemin said. One of our newest heavy cruisers. She has 20 missile bays, 10 laser turrets, and cargo space for 500 crew members. He touched a control, and the image changed. The weapons disappeared. The missile bays transformed into medical wards. The cargo areas became storage for medicine and supplies. In 36 hours, we can convert the Horizon and 4 other ships into medical vessels, Taemin said. We remove the missiles and replace them with hospital beds. We remove the ammunition and replace it with medicine. The ships will still look like warships from the outside, but inside, they will be hospitals. Counselor G1 raised an eyebrow. 36 hours? That seems fast. Our engineers have already begun preparing, Yuna said. We did not want to waste time waiting for approval. Park frowned. You began preparation before the council approved this mission? Yes, Counselor. Every hour we delay, more Velrani die. I took a calculated risk. Yuna met his eyes without flinching. If the council says no, we can convert the ships back. But if the council says yes, we will be ready to leave immediately. The chamber fell silent. The counselors looked at each other, weighing the risks and rewards. They thought about resources and politics and galactic relations. But they also thought about something else. They thought about what kind of species humanity wanted to be. Counselor Park finally stood up. I have been a politician for 40 years, he said. In that time, I have learned that doing the right thing is often complicated. There are always reasons to say no. There are always excuses to do nothing. He paused. But sometimes, the right choice is also the simple choice. Someone needs help. We can provide it. That should be enough. He looked around the table at his fellow counselors. I vote yes. Let us send our ships to help the Velrani. One by one, the other counselors voted. Some hesitated. Some asked more questions. But in the end, the vote was unanimous. Earth would help the Velrani. Admiral Yuna felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Thank you, counselors. You will not regret this decision. 12 hours later, the conversion of the ships was nearly complete. Yuna walked through the medical bay of the Horizon, watching doctors and nurses set up equipment. Hospital beds lined the walls. Medicine filled the storage containers. Everything was ready. Taemin fell into step beside her. We have 300 medical personnel ready to go, he said. Doctors, nurses, technicians. All volunteers. All volunteers? Yuna asked, surprised. Taemin nodded. When word spread about the mission, people came from all over Earth to help. We had to turn away hundreds of applicants. Everyone wanted to be part of this. Yuna felt a warmth in her chest. This was why she loved humanity. For all their faults, for all their wars and conflicts, humans had an incredible capacity for compassion. What about the plague itself? She asked. Do we know what we are dealing with? Our scientists have been analyzing the medical data from the Velrani transmission, Taman said. The plague is a viral infection. It attacks the respiratory system. Our doctors believe they can treat it with a combination of antivirals and immune boosters. The medicines are being loaded now. Yuna nodded. Good. What is our travel time to the Velrani colony? At maximum speed, 14 days. 14 days. A lot could happen in 14 days. Many Velrani could die, but it was the best they could do. Admiral, Taman said, there is one more thing. Our communications team has been monitoring the situation. The Velrani still do not know we are coming. They have received no responses to their distress call from anyone. Yuna felt a pang of sadness. Imagine sending a call for help into the darkness and hearing nothing back. Imagine watching your people die while the galaxy ignored you. Should we contact them? Taman asked. Let them know help is on the way. Yuna thought about it. Part of her wanted to send a message immediately, to give the Velrani hope, but another part of her worried. The Velrani had never met humans. They did not know what humanity was like. If they saw human warships approaching, they might panic. No, Yuna said finally. We will contact them when we are closer. I want to be able to show them our intentions, not just tell them. I want them to see that we come as friends. Taman nodded. Understood, Admiral. They reached the bridge of the horizon. Through the viewport, Yuna could see the other 4 ships of the task force floating nearby. They looked powerful and dangerous, as warships should, but Yuna knew that inside each one, instead of weapons, there were doctors, and medicine, and hope. Commander, Yuna said, in 24 hours, we will leave for the Velrani system. Prepare the fleet. Taman saluted. Yes, Admiral. We will be ready. As he left to carry out her orders, Yuna looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, an alien species was dying. They had called for help, and no one had answered. Until now. Hold on, Yuna thought. We are coming. You are not alone anymore. She did not know what they would find when they arrived. She did not know if they would be welcomed or feared. But she knew one thing for certain. Humanity would not stand by and watch innocent beings die, not while she had breath in her body. The fleet would launch tomorrow. The galaxy would learn what humans were really made of. 14 days passed on Velra Prime like a slow death. Elder Novan watched his people fall one by one. The hospitals were full. The morgues were overflowing. The streets echoed with the crying of those who had lost loved ones. The plague had taken 3,000 lives now. 3,000 Velrani who would never see another sunrise, never hold their families again, never laugh or sing or dream, and still, no help came. Novan had stopped hoping. He had sent hundreds of messages to every corner of the galaxy. The Galactic Union, the Dominion, the Trade Confederation, even the mysterious empires of the Outer Rim. No one responded. No one cared. Elder, Lyra said from her station in the communication room. Her voice was weak. She had started showing blue spots on her arms yesterday. The plague was taking her too. We are receiving a new signal. Novan barely looked up. Another rejection? Another excuse? No, Elder. Lyra's voice held something strange. Fear, perhaps, or confusion. It is a sensor reading from our outer defense satellites. And in 2045, Lyra's voice held something strange. Novan stood up slowly, his old bones aching. What kind of reading? Ships, Elder. 5 ships, entering our system at high speed. Lyra's hands shook as she worked the controls. They are not responding to our identification requests. They are warships. The word hit Novan like a physical blow. Warships. Someone had finally come to Velra Prime. But they had not come to help. Show me, Novan said. Lyra brought up the sensor display. 5 large vessels appeared on the screen, moving through space in a tight formation. They were covered in armor plating and weapons arrays. Each one was 10 times larger than any ship the Velrani had ever built. Novan felt his blood run cold. Can you identify them? What species? What? Lyra worked frantically at her console. The ship design does not match any known species in our database. Wait, I am finding a partial match. She paused, her eyes widening. Elder, these ships are human. Human? Novan had heard of humans. A young species from a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. They had only been traveling between stars for a few hundred years. They were considered primitive by most galactic standards, but they had a reputation for being unpredictable and dangerous. Why are humans coming here? Novan asked. We have never had contact with Earth. I do not know, Elder. Lyra's voice was trembling now. But they are heading directly for our planet. They will arrive in 6 hours. Novan stared at the screen. 5 human warships, armed with weapons the Velrani could not even understand, heading straight for their dying world. This could not be a coincidence. Somehow, the humans had learned about the plague, and they were coming. But why would they send warships? The answer formed in Novan's mind like a dark cloud. The Velrani were weak. They were dying. They had no defenses. They were the perfect target for conquest. They are coming to take our world, Novan said quietly. They see our weakness, and they are coming to claim us. Elder, we cannot know that for certain, Lyra said. But her voice held no conviction. Novan shook his head. What other explanation is there? They send no message. They do not respond to our signals. They come with warships, not medical vessels. He closed his eyes. We called out to the galaxy for help, and instead, we attracted predators. The next 6 hours were the longest of Novan's life. He called an emergency meeting of the Velrani Council. The leaders of his people gathered in the Great Hall, their faces pale with fear and sickness. Many of them were already showing signs of the plague. We have 2 choices, Novan told them. We can fight, or we can surrender. Fight? Councillor Marin laughed bitterly. She was a young female who had once been full of energy. Now, she looked old and tired. With what? We have no weapons. We have no soldiers. Our entire defense fleet consists of 3 transport ships. Then we surrender, Novan said. We open our communications. We tell the humans they can have our planet. We beg them to spare our people. The council members looked at each other. No one spoke. What was there to say? They had no options. They were dying from a plague, and now conquerors were coming to finish them off. I will make the announcement, Novan said. When the humans arrive, I will speak to them. I will offer them everything we have. Perhaps if we do not resist, they will be merciful. He did not believe his own words. He had heard stories about humans. They were said to be fierce warriors, aggressive, and territorial. They had fought wars among themselves for thousands of years before they even reached the stars. Why would such a species show mercy to helpless aliens? Novan returned to the communication room and prepared a message. It was the hardest thing he had ever done. He was about to surrender his entire species to an unknown enemy. He was about to admit that the Velrani, who had survived for 10,000 years through kindness and peace, were now helpless victims. The human ships grew closer with every passing minute. Novan watched their progress on the sensor display. They moved with terrifying speed, cutting through space like predators chasing prey. Elder, Lyra said suddenly. The lead ship is transmitting something. Novan tensed. What are they saying? It is strange. Lyra listened to the transmission, her expression confused. They are saying, they have come to help. They say they received our distress call. They say they are bringing medicine and doctors. Novan stared at her. That cannot be right. Those are warships. I am only telling you what they are saying, Elder. Lyra played the message through the speakers. A female voice filled the room, speaking in accented but understandable galactic common. Velrani Colony. This is Admiral Yuna, of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call 14 days ago. We are here to help. We are carrying medical supplies and trained doctors. Please do not be alarmed by our ships. We did not have time to send anything else. We come in peace. Novan could not believe what he was hearing. It had to be a trick. It had to be some kind of deception to make them lower their guard. Why would humans help us? He asked. They do not know us. They owe us nothing. I do not know, Elder, Lyra said. But the message seems sincere, Novan thought carefully. If this was a trick, then they were already doomed anyway. The humans had warships. The Velrani had nothing. If the humans wanted to conquer them, there was nothing the Velrani could do to stop it. But if the message was true, if the humans had actually come to help, respond to them, Novan said. Tell them we received their message. Ask them to prove their intentions. Lyra sent the reply. A few minutes later, another transmission came through. This time, it included visual data. Images appeared on the screen, showing the interior of the human ships. Novan gasped. Instead of weapons and soldiers, the images showed hospital beds and medical equipment. Instead of missiles in the storage bays, there were containers of medicine. Instead of warriors in armor, there were men and women in white coats, preparing to treat patients. They converted their warships, Novan whispered. They turned their weapons into hospitals. Elder, Lyra said, her voice breaking with emotion. They actually came to help us. Someone actually answered our call. Novan felt tears running down his face. For 2 weeks, he had watched his people die. For 2 weeks, he had begged the galaxy for help. For 2 weeks, he had heard nothing but silence. Now, out of nowhere, humans were coming. Not to conquer, not to exploit, but to help. Open all channels, Novan said. Tell the humans they are welcome. Tell them we will prepare landing areas. Tell them. He had to stop to control his voice. Tell them thank you. Tell them we thought we were alone. Tell them we had given up hope. As Lyra sent the message, Novan looked out the window at the sky. Somewhere up there, 5 human warships were approaching. Ships that had been built for war, now carrying mercy and healing. He had been wrong about humans. He had assumed they were like the other powers of the galaxy, selfish and uncaring. But they were different. They had heard a cry for help from strangers, and they had come running. Perhaps, Novan thought, there was still hope for the galaxy after all. The human ships entered orbit around Velra Prime as the sun rose over the main colony. Commander Tae-min stood on the bridge of the horizon, looking down at the alien world below. It was a beautiful planet, covered in blue oceans and green forests. From this height, it was impossible to see the death and suffering on the surface. The Velrani have cleared landing zones for our shuttles, Lieutenant Hana reported. They are. They seem very emotional in their communications. Admiral Yuna nodded. They thought no one was coming. They thought they were going to die alone. She turned to Tae-min. Commander, I want you to lead the first medical team to the surface. Show them that our intentions are genuine. Tae-min saluted. Yes, Admiral. 20 minutes later, Tae-min was aboard a shuttle descending through the atmosphere of Velra Prime. Around him sat 50 medical personnel, doctors and nurses who had volunteered for this mission. They carried bags of medicine and portable medical equipment. They were ready to work. Through the shuttle window, Tae-min got his first look at the Velrani colony. It was a city of graceful white buildings, connected by bridges and walkways. Gardens and parks filled the spaces between structures. It would have been beautiful, except for what the plague had done to it. The streets were empty. The gardens were untended. Large buildings that looked like hospitals were surrounded by smaller structures that Tae-min realized with horror were temporary morgues. The Velrani had been dying faster than they could bury their dead. The shuttle landed in a wide plaza near the center of the city. As the doors opened, Tae-min saw a group of Velrani waiting for them. They were small, barely reaching his chest in height, with gray skin and large dark eyes. Many of them showed the blue spots of the plague. An old Velrani stepped forward. He moved slowly, as if every step caused him pain, but his eyes were bright with something that Tae-min recognized immediately. Hope, I am Elder Novan, the Velrani said in Galactic Common. I speak for my people. We welcome you to Velra Prime. Taemin bowed respectfully. I am Commander Taemin. On behalf of Earth and the United Earth Council, we are honored to help you. Novan looked at the humans emerging from the shuttle. He saw the medical equipment they carried. He saw the medicine. He saw the determined faces of people who had come not to conquer, but to heal. We did not call for you, Novan said. We did not even know humans were listening. Why did you come? Taemin considered the question carefully. It deserved an honest answer. Because you needed help, he said simply. Because we could provide it. On Earth, we have a saying. When someone is drowning, you do not ask if they are a friend or stranger. You just reach out your hand. Novan's eyes filled with tears. We thought, when we saw your warships, we thought you had come to take our world. Taemin shook his head. We came to save it. He gestured to the medical teams spreading out behind him. We have 300 doctors and nurses. We have enough medicine to treat your entire population. We have equipment to set up field hospitals across your colony. Tell us where to go, and we will begin immediately. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Human medical teams spread throughout the Velrani colony, setting up treatment centers in every district. The doctors worked quickly, examining patients, administering medicine, teaching the Velrani how to use the treatments. Taemin stayed with Elder Novan, coordinating the relief effort. The old Velrani watched the humans work with wonder in his eyes. Your doctors are very skilled, Novan observed. They do not seem bothered by our appearance. They treat us as if we were their own kind. Taemin smiled. To them, you are patients who need help. That is all that matters. But we are so different from you. We are aliens. Strange creatures from another world. Everyone is strange to someone, Taemin said. On Earth, we have hundreds of different cultures, different languages, different beliefs. We learned long ago that differences do not make us enemies. They make us interesting. Novan was quiet for a moment. The other species of the galaxy do not think this way. To them, different means dangerous. Different means competition. We are not like the other species, Taemin said. We are human. As the hours passed, the medicine began to work. Patients who had been near death started to recover. The blue spots faded from their skin. The fever broke. Life returned to their eyes. Word spread through the colony like wildfire. The humans had brought a cure. The plague was being defeated. There was hope. Lyra was one of the first patients to be treated. When Taemin visited her in the medical center, she was sitting up in bed, eating her first solid meal in days. The blue spots on her arms were already fading. Commander, she said when she saw him, I do not know how to thank you. Yesterday, I was certain I would die. Today, I feel like I will live. Taemin sat beside her bed. You are strong. You held on long enough for help to arrive. We almost gave up, Lyra admitted. When we saw your ships, we thought it was over. We thought you were coming to conquer us. She paused. I am glad we were wrong. So are we, Taemin said. That evening, Admiral Yuna came down to the surface to meet with Elder Novan. They sat in the old Velrani's study, surrounded by books and artwork from centuries of Velrani culture. Outside the window, the city was coming back to life. For the first time in weeks, people were walking in the streets. Admiral, Novan said, I must ask you something. Your council agreed to send your ships across the galaxy to help strangers. They used resources and time that could have been spent on your own people. Why? What do you expect in return? Yuna thought about the question. It was a fair one. In the galaxy, as the Velrani knew it, nothing was free. Every gift came with strings attached. Every act of kindness had a price. Elder Novan, Yuna said, we expect nothing in return. We came because it was the right thing to do. That is all. Novan shook his head slowly. I do not understand. In 10,000 years of Velrani history, We have never encountered a species that helped others without expecting something back. Yuna smiled. Then perhaps it is time you met humans properly. She leaned forward. Elder, we did not come here looking for allies or trading partners. We did not come here to gain influence or power. We came because we heard someone crying for help, and we could not ignore it. But the cost, Novin said. The fuel, the medicine, the time away from your home world. These things have value. You spent them on us freely. Some things are more valuable than resources, Yuna said. Like knowing that you did the right thing. Like knowing that somewhere in the galaxy, people are alive who would have died without your help. She looked out the window at the recovering city. This is payment enough for us. Novin was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, he stood up and walked to Yuna. He reached out and took her hand in both of his. Admiral, he said, his voice thick with emotion. In the name of all Velrani, I thank you. You have shown us that there is still goodness in the galaxy. You have reminded us that kindness exists among the stars. Yuna squeezed his hands gently. The kindness was always there, Elder. Sometimes it just needs a chance to show itself. Outside, the sun was setting over Velra Prime. The medical teams continued their work, treating patients, distributing medicine, teaching the Velrani how to manufacture the antivirals themselves. The plague was not defeated yet, but it was retreating. The dying had stopped, and in the communication rooms across the colony, new messages were being composed. Messages to the Galactic Union, messages to the great powers, messages that would tell the galaxy what humanity had done. The Velrani had called for help. Everyone had ignored them. Everyone except the humans. The galaxy was about to learn that there was a new kind of species among the stars. A species that protected the weak instead of exploiting them. A species that answered calls for help instead of ignoring them. The humans had arrived. And nothing would ever be the same. 3 weeks after the human ships arrived, the plague on Velra Prime was officially defeated. The last patient was released from the medical center on a bright morning, surrounded by cheering crowds and celebrating families. For the first time in 2 months, no one on the planet was dying from the disease. Commander Taemin stood with Elder Novin in the main plaza, watching the celebration. The old Velrani looked younger somehow, as if the relief had taken years off his life. We lost 4,000 people, Novin said quietly. 4,000 lives that we will never forget. I am sorry we could not save them all, Taemin said. Do not be sorry, Commander. Without your help, we would have lost everyone. All 50,000 people on this colony would have died. You saved 46,000 lives. Novin turned to face him. That is not a failure. That is a miracle. In orbit above the planet, Admiral Yuna was preparing her ships for departure. The mission was complete. The medicine had been distributed. The Velrani had been taught how to make more. It was time for the humans to go home, but something unexpected was happening. Messages were arriving from across the galaxy. News of what the humans had done on Velra Prime was spreading faster than anyone had anticipated. The other species wanted to know more about these strange creatures from the edge of the galaxy, who had crossed light years to save strangers. Lieutenant Hana brought the latest report to Yuna's quarters. Admiral, we are receiving communications from 17 different species. They all want to know if Earth would be interested in diplomatic relations. Yuna looked up from her desk. 17 species? Yes, Admiral. Including 2 members of the Galactic Council. Hana paused. The council members are asking why humans did what they did. They seem confused. I have. The didman they having. They seem confused. The didman they having why. They have the didman they having why. They having why. Yuna laughed softly. I suppose helping others without expecting anything in return is a foreign concept to them. What should I tell them? Tell them the truth. Tell them that humans help those in need because it is the right thing to do. Tell them that Earth would be happy to discuss diplomatic relations with anyone who shares those values. The messages continued to arrive over the next few days. Some were grateful. Some were suspicious. Some were simply curious. But all of them showed that humanity had made an impression on the galaxy. On Velra Prime, Elder Novan called a meeting of the surviving Velrani leaders. The Great Hall was full for the first time since the plague began. People who had been too sick to move were now walking and talking and planning for the future. "We owe our survival to the humans," Novan told the assembly. "They came when no one else would. They brought healing when we had only despair. They asked for nothing in return." He paused to let the words sink in. "I believe we should honor this debt. I believe we should become allies of Earth." The proposal was approved unanimously. For the first time in their history, the Velrani would have a true partner among the stars. Not a master or a rival, but a friend. When Yuna received the message from Novan, she read it with tears in her eyes. The Velrani were offering a formal alliance with Earth. They were pledging their resources, their knowledge, their friendship. "They did not have to do this," Yuna said to Taemin. "We did not help them to gain allies." "No," Taemin agreed, "but perhaps that is why they offered, because we did not expect it." The departure ceremony took place in the main plaza of the Velrani colony. Thousands of Velrani gathered to say goodbye to the humans who had saved them. They brought gifts, flowers, paintings, and tokens of appreciation. They sang songs of gratitude in their soft, melodic language. Admiral Yuna stood before the crowd with Elder Novan beside her. The old Velrani raised his hands for silence. "Today, we say goodbye to our friends from Earth," Novan said. "But this is not truly a farewell. This is the beginning of something new. For the first time, the Velrani are not alone in the galaxy. We have found a species that believes in kindness, in compassion, in helping others without thought of reward." He turned to Yuna. "Admiral, you came to us as strangers. You leave as family. The Velrani will never forget what humanity has done, and we will spend the rest of our existence trying to be worthy of your example." Yuna bowed her head. "Elder Novan, the honor is ours. We came to Velra Prime hoping to save lives. We are leaving with something far more precious. We are leaving with friends." The crowd erupted in cheers. Humans and Velrani embraced. Children ran between the legs of the tall human visitors, laughing and playing. For a moment, the differences between the two species seemed to disappear. They were just people, celebrating life and friendship. As Yuna walked back to the shuttle that would take her to her ship, she thought about what this mission had accomplished. They had saved an alien species from extinction. They had gained a loyal ally. They had shown the galaxy that humans were something different, something special, but more than that. They had proven something to themselves. They had proven that humanity could be a force for good in the universe, not through conquest or domination, but through compassion and courage. The shuttle lifted off from the plaza, carrying the last of the human medical teams back to the waiting ships. Below, the Velrani waved goodbye, their faces turned toward the sky with expressions of gratitude and hope. In the weeks that followed, the story of what happened on Velra Prime spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had never heard of humans began asking questions. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive began paying attention. Species that had thought compassion was a weakness began to wonder if they had been wrong. The Galactic Union received formal applications for diplomatic contact from Earth. The Trade Confederation opened negotiations for trade agreements. Even the distant empires of the Outer Rim sent inquiries. Humanity had announced itself to the galaxy. Not with weapons or threats, but with medicine and mercy. Not by destroying, but by saving. On Earth, the Council received regular updates from Admiral Yuna as she made her way home. The news was almost entirely positive. The mission had succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Humanity had made friends, not enemies. The galaxy was beginning to see humans in a new light. Counselor Park read the latest report with a smile on his face. He thought about the night when Admiral Yuna had first brought her proposal to the Council. He thought about all the reasons they could have said no. He was glad they had not. "Well," he said to himself, "it seems that doing the right thing was also the smart thing." When the Horizon and her companion ships finally returned to Earth orbit, they were greeted by cheering crowds and grateful leaders. Admiral Yuna became a symbol of what humanity could be at its best. Commander Taemin was promoted and given command of a new mission to establish a permanent human presence on Velra Prime. But Yuna knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and there were countless species out there who might need help someday. Humanity had proven it could answer that call. As she stood on the bridge of her ship, looking out at the blue and green sphere of Earth below, Yuna thought about the future. She thought about the alliances yet to be formed, the friendships yet to be made, the lives yet to be saved. Humanity had expected to remain alone in the galaxy, a small species on the edge of everything. Instead, they had found a purpose. They had become protectors. They had become healers. They had become something the galaxy had never seen before. The Velrani had expected medical aid. They had received human warships instead. And those warships had brought something far more powerful than weapons. They had brought hope. The story was over. But the adventure was just beginning.